Hello. Hi. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Am I good? Yay! Cole, you made it. Good, you better. I'm just kidding. Hey, Gypsy. Hey, Cole. What's up? What's going on? Weekend vibes, true crime day. It's been an interesting day thus far. We're going to be covering the Kansas mom's murder case. Hi, Augie, my love. Tipsy, Cole. Augie, what's up? I know everyone's probably caught up with this case, but I am not, and I'm not going to speak about a case until I have legal documents. So I have arrest warrants for all of the 5 people arrested, and then I have 2 autopsies. So we're going to get through it quick because you know I'm a fast reader here. And baby, I love documents. So we are always going to be covering those here on my channel. I have some really good stuff too, and some other cases coming up. Hey, hey, Lori Loves Life. Hi, Top Cat. Hey, Sarah. Appreciate you. Patronus, you made it. Hi, beautiful Patronus. I am so happy you are here. Okay, good. Video games and true crime. Great. Yay. Okay. So I know some of you are already familiar about this case. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play the press conference from a couple months ago so you guys can get an idea of the case. And then we will start with the arrest warrants. So this case is regarding Jilian Kelley and Veronica Butler. And they were unalived by, there was a brutal custody case going on. And they were unalived by the man's mother, her man, and then 2 of their friends, and then some other person. I don't know who he is. So we're going to learn that together. By the names, the 5 people arrested were Tad Cullum, Tifany Adams, Cole Cora Twombly, and then Paul Grice. And they were found in a chest freezer, I believe, like 15 feet buried. Yeah, it's brutal. On the panhandle between Kansas and Oklahoma, which is why the case is called Kansas. Hey, Stephanie, Kansas mom's murder case. So we're going to start with the press conference, and on the arrest warrants, a lot of the information might be the same, but we're going to go through the charges, the main points of it, and then I will go through what I can on the autopsy report. Some of it is redacted by the medical examiner, and they might be very similar, so we'll skip through that, honestly, if it's the same things, but we are at least going to take a look at them. That way, when we are speaking on these things, we know what's going on with the case. So I am going to play the press conference, and then we'll read through the documents. And the reason why I am covering this is they do have court coming up. So the state is arguing that all defendants should face a preliminary hearing together instead of a separate one, since they all conspired in it together. So the hearing for the Twomblys, Cullum, and Adams is December 17th. And during that hearing, the judge will determine if there's enough evidence to hold someone for trial. And then Grice is denied bond, and he waived his right to a hearing. So he is on February 18th, 2025. So I always link all that stuff down in the description for you guys to reference back to. So I'm going to play the press conference, and then we'll get to the documents. Let me know if you guys can hear it.
Do a step-by-step process of how we're going to do this. Each agency is going to have an opportunity to talk. You guys will have an opportunity to ask questions. So again, my name is 𝗏𝗏, H-U-N-T-E-R. I'm the Public Information Manager with the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. We have the Director of the OSBI, 𝐁𝐿𝐴 here, the Deputy Director of the OSBI, Stephen Carter. We also have representatives with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We have the Texas County Sheriff, and we also have the District Attorney. So we are going to start with a few words from the Director of the OSBI, 𝐁𝐿𝐴.
Hey, Yashira, good to see you. Thank you guys for being here, hanging out on a weekend.
Good morning. I appreciate you all coming today. As Hunter said, my name is 𝐁𝐿𝐴, the Director for the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. As you all know, we have been working very diligently for the last 2 weeks to bring closure to the families. This has been challenging for everybody involved. This case did not end the way we had hoped. It has certainly been a tragedy for everybody involved. The mission of the OSBI, though, is to protect Oklahoma one partnership at a time, and certainly this case is an example of how those partnerships work. And how it takes everybody coming together to bring resolution. And so while I am very grateful for all of my agents that have worked since the very beginning, 24 hours a day, to get us to the point we are today, we could not have reached where we're at without the partnerships of the Texas County Sheriff's Office, the District 1 District Attorney's Office, without our FBI partners, and without the assistance of the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office and the Oklahoma Highway Patrol that could not be here. So our condolences go out to the family, and we will continue to update you as we continue to move this investigation forward. And I'm going to now turn it over to our FBI partners. Thank you.
You're playing the press
Good morning.
conference.
My name is Sonia Garcia. I am acting special agent in charge for the Oklahoma City Field Office, FBI. On behalf of the entire FBI, I want to express our sincerest condolences to the family and loved ones of Veronica and Jilian. The FBI was requested to assist on this matter on April 4th, and since then, we've had a dedicated team of analysts, agents, evidence response, and tactical personnel working around the clock and alongside with OSBI and Texas County Sheriff's Office to bring the individuals responsible for this crime into custody and to provide a sense of closure to the families and to this community. Know that we are grieving with you today. We will continue to work with our partners and to be an advocate for Jilian and Veronica and to ensure that justice will be served. Thank you.
Hi, Stella. Good to see you, love. Thank you for being here. Hope you're doing well.
My name is 𝐕 I am the Sheriff of Texas County, and I would also like to offer our condolences to the family. All right. My agency's role in this is that we received a call on March 30th of an abandoned vehicle missing, with persons missing from the vehicle. Deputies immediately responded to the area. When they arrived on scene, they found some things that just weren't adding up. So we established a crime scene and then notified the OSBI to have them come and assist us with this and to actually take lead on the case. All right. We established a search party made up of the Guymon Fire Department and several of the volunteer fire departments in the county. And we searched the area around the crime scene for about a mile in each direction. Once the OSBI arrived on the scene, they took the lead and got us to this point where we are today. Okay. I'd like to thank the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, especially the Northwest region. They were phenomenal in this. The Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, Guymon Fire Department, several Kansas agencies that assisted, local agencies here in Texas County that assisted. And I'm sure I've forgotten a few, but I would like to just say thank you, even to the public. There was a lot of questions from the public as was there any danger to the public? And I think from the get-go, once we arrived on scene, that and we gained a little bit of information that we felt this wasn't a random deal. All right, we felt that with some of the information coming in that it was more targeted, and we started to look in those areas that we were pointed to. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, this is a very brutal crime. I agree, Patronus. It's very, very brutal.
I'm 𝐁𝐿 III. I'm the district attorney for District 1. I wanted to start to let you know that on Friday, the informations were filed, and they were filed under seal. The reason they were filed under seal was to protect our law enforcement officers and to try to keep the children out of harm's way. We were successful. No shots were fired, and the children were kept out of harm's way. Our district judge issued an order this morning, and those files are now unsealed. So you can get the informations at the courthouse, you can get the affidavits at the courthouse, which will give you the facts that we were working off of. Additionally, I would like to begin my. This has been an amazing enterprise. I was reading on social media some of the stuff, and there were people out there that thought law enforcement was asleep, that they weren't doing anything. There were even additional law enforcement agencies, the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, Dallam County Sheriff's Office, Sherman County Sheriff's Office from the state of Texas. Everybody came together and everybody helped. We're probably talking somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 law enforcement officers. Truly, no exaggeration, working night and day for 15 days. I want to thank the public. We had people calling us from North Texas Panhandle, from the Oklahoma Panhandle, from Southwest Kansas, providing us information, responding because they cared.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate
and the
you.
information we received from them was critical. Also want to thank corporate America. I don't know how many search warrants we issued. Now I'm telling you, they responded in lightning speed. Anything we needed, any order we sent, we got everything that we needed. Lastly, I'd like to thank all the law enforcement agencies that came together and worked together as a team, and all their personnel. They did a fantastic job. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that flagpole is annoying.
Any additional questions you guys have, go right on ahead.
Is there confirmation at this point that the bodies recovered are Jilian and Veronica?
Not at this time. We have, we identified that there were 2 bodies during our search. Both of those deceased persons have been transported to the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office, where they will do a proper identification and also look into a cause and manner of death.
What led to the discovery of the bodies?
Based on the evidence that our agents and local law enforcement were able to obtain, we used that to search a wide area throughout Texas County, and we were able to use those resources in order to find where these 2 bodies were.
Do you know the timeline for when the bodies should be identified and when we should know what the cause of death was?
It's a case-by-case basis,
This was a few months ago
but as soon as we hear back from the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office, we will let the public know.
Can you describe the scene where these bodies were recovered and what state these remains are in?
No, I mean, I can say that it was a very rural area. I cannot state the condition of the bodies.
Is this private property?
I cannot confirm that at this time.
In Oklahoma, there's the death penalty. If convicted, could we possibly maybe see this in the state?
You would have to reach out to the district attorney's office. That'll be something that will be discussed further down the line.
DA Stewart alluded to a lot of people calling in with a lot of tips. Were there particular tips that broke this case?
We received several tips throughout this entire process. The public, I mean, I know that we had thanked what that our local law enforcement agencies, what they were able to help us and throughout this search, but the people here throughout this area have done a tremendous job of reaching out to us. The original press release that we had put out on March 31st in regards to searching for these 2 women, we constantly received several tips and had used those throughout the entire 14-day process in order to find these 2 bodies, and then also discover and find those who were responsible for this crime.
So the backstory of this crime, Cole, for those of you who don't know, I think Stella said she was new to this case. I'm impressed that you guys didn't already know about it. Not impressed, I guess, surprised. Two females, one was Veronica Butler, who had custody issues with her man, and the mother-in-law is one of the ones that got arrested for these crimes. And she was with Jilian Kelley, who was like a representative of the court / friend, who was accompanying her to meet and do a trade-off between the kids. And they ended up missing. They were found, buried, I think it was 10 to 15 feet in a freezer, done by the mother-in-law, her boyfriend, and a couple that was their friends. And then a fifth person ends up being arrested. So we're going to review all the court documents in couple minutes.
Foul play was suspected was because of evidence found in the car. Can you go into more detail now of what that evidence was?
We cannot still at this time. It is still an ongoing investigation, and that is for our investigative purposes. Again, we can say that the evidence that was discovered inside of that abandoned vehicle and around it, we're able to help our investigators determine that there was foul play involved, and then led to the progression of this investigation. What was in the vehicle around it, we cannot discuss.
It was quite a convoy in executing these 4 search warrants. Was there concern of resistance to arrest? How much concern was there over a possible gunfight?
When you are regarding arrests and multiple arrests in the magnitude that we have all discussed, there is always, there is always a cause of trying to protect the public as best you possibly can. We can say that all 4 of those arrests were made without incident.
So there was 5 arrests. Because this is an older press conference, I'm going to move on to the legal documents. I just kind of wanted you guys to get an idea. Yeah. Hey, Brady. What's good? What's up? Good to see you. Email me. Yeah, email me. Yeah, I can't imagine either. All right, let's get to the good stuff. I'm a sucker for court documents. So we are going to start with the mother-in-law, Tifany Adams. And that'll explain a lot more about the crime. Can you guys see that on your screen? I just want to make sure. Make it a little bigger. So Tifany Michael Adams was one of the ones arrested. She was the mother-in-law of the guy Veronica had a child with. Count 1, unaliving in the first degree. Count 2, deliberate intent, kidnapping. And then count 4. So 2 charges for the unaliving and the kidnapping for both of the women, and conspiracy. A felony, unaliving in the first degree by aiding and abetting in the commission of the deliberate and intentional taking away of the life of a human being on or about the 30th day of March, 2024. And then in their willfully, unlawfully, and feloniously without authority of law, aid and abet in the death of Veronica Butler, who was lured to the location of Highway 95 and Road L in Texas County, Oklahoma, and certain mortal wounds were inflicted, and Veronica Butler died, in fact, as a result of the wounds. Same for Jilian Kelley. The crime is punishable by death, imprisonment for life without parole. Charge 3, kidnapping, 2 of those charges. Aiding and abetting and forcible seizing of Veronica Butler from Highway 95, Oklahoma, and confining Veronica in another vehicle and transferring said victim to another location without lawful authority and with the intent to cause Veronica Butler to be confined or imprisoned against her will. Same with Jilian Kelley. And then conspiracy comes in with by conspiring and agreeing with Tad Cullum, Cora Twombly, and Cole Twombly to commit the crime of unaliving in the first degree, a felony on or about between the 13th of February and 30th day of March this year by arranging and planning the deliberate, intentional, and unlawful taking away of the Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley, and the defendant and or conspirators did purchase burner phones, stun guns, and travel to the area of Highway 95 in Oklahoma in furtherance of the conspiracy. Affidavit, here we go. On Saturday, March 30th, the Texas County Sheriff's Office requested Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation Services with suspicious disappearance of Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley. Veronica was 27, Jilian Kelley was 39, after their vehicle was found abandoned near Highway 95 and Road L in Kansas. Butler and Kelley were traveling to Oklahoma from Houghton, Kansas. Interviews were conducted related to their disappearance, and it was discovered that Butler was in a problematic custody battle with Tifany Adams for the custody of Butler's 2 children. The father of the children was Wrangler, her son. He was in rehab at the time. Butler's visitation with her children was court-ordered to be supervised every Saturday. Adams had a particular person she preferred to supervise these visitations, and that was Cheryl Brune. The court ordered Adams to pay Brune to supervise visits if that was who she wanted to be present. Otherwise, Butler was to choose and pay for the person to supervise. Adams said Brune was unavailable to supervise the visitation on March 30th, 2024, so Butler was required to arrange the supervision with one of her other 3 approved individuals. Butler contacted Jilian Kelley of Houghton, Kansas, and planned to have her supervise the visit. Butler told family members she was going to pick up her children from Adams at the Four Corners. Butler and Kelley left Houghton, Kansas, and traveled to Highway 95, about 5 miles north of Four Corners. Butler and Kelley arrived at the location approximately at 0940 hours. Butler planned to bring her daughter to a birthday party, but after they did not arrive, the family began looking for Butler. Melissa and 𝐂𝐴, who were Butler's family members, located Butler's abandoned vehicle just west of the intersection of Highway 95 and Road L. The Padillas then contacted law enforcement at 12:09 hours. An examination of the vehicle and the area surrounding the vehicle found evidence of severe injury. Blood was found on the roadway and edge of the roadway. Butler's glasses were also found in the roadway south of the vehicle near a broken hammer. A pistol magazine was found inside Kelley's purse at the scene, but no pistol was found. Adams told OSBI that on Friday night, March 29th, Rickman and Butler's children stayed the night with Barrett and Lacey Cook. Adams said she planned to pick them up that morning before visitations. Adams said she called Butler at 0900 hours to confirm the meeting, and Butler told Adams something came up and she was not going to make it. Butler's phone records confirmed the call occurred. However, at the time of the call, Butler was in Houghton, Kansas, in the process of picking Kelley up to go meet Adams. Adams stated she was home at the time that Butler and Kelley went missing. Adams picked up the children before 1200 from the Cook's residence. OSBI interviewed Brune and said she was available to supervise the visit that day, but Adams told her to take a couple weeks off from the visitation so Adams could question the children related to how Butler's approved visitation supervisors were. Butler and Kelley's phone records indicated their devices were actively sending signals to their carriers, after which the devices were no longer seen by the networks and stopped transmitting. Neither phone was found at the scene or within the vehicle, and they are currently missing. Adams was the last known person to communicate with Butler and was scheduled to meet Butler and Kelley for a visitation on March 30th, 2024. Through the custody case, recordings were obtained where Rickman discussed death threats by Adams and Adams' boyfriend, Tad Cullum, one of the arrested. The custody battle began in February of 2019 with many hearings and court appearances. On March 18, 2024 and March 20th, 2024, motions were filed requesting extended visitation for Butler. A hearing was scheduled to occur on April 17, 2024, and Butler's informed OSBI that Butler was likely to receive unsupervised supervision with her children at that hearing. At times, Adams refused to let Rickman have his children, and even though Rickman had legal custody of them. Law enforcement previously responded to a call for service where Adams refused to give Rickman his children. Reportedly, the officer told Rickman that he believed the children were better off in Adams' care. Rickman's grandmother, Debbie, reported in mid to late February 2024. Rickman told her they didn't have to worry about the custody battle much longer because Adams had it under control, and the Adams knew the path the judge walked to work, and we will take Veronica at drop-off. Rickman was confirmed to be in rehabilitation facility in Oklahoma City at the time of the disappearance. The children remain in the custody of Adams. Rickman's denied having that conversation with Knox. On April 1st, OSBI agents obtained a search warrant for Adams' cellular phone. OSBI agents performed an extraction on the device. Information gained from the device included web searches for taser pain level, gun shops, prepaid cellular phones, and how to get someone out of their house. On April 3rd, OSBI interviewed CW at age 16. CW is the daughter of Cora and Kobe White. Cora is married to Cole Twombly. CW stated that she had overheard group conversations related to Butler not protecting her children, redacted, all in reference to redacted. CW advised that she was told by Cora that Adams, Cullum, Cora, and Cole and Paul Grice were involved in the deaths of Butler and Kelley. She stated that Adams had provided burner phones to use so they could communicate without using their personal devices. CW said saw two burner phones charging on Cora's nightstand in her bedroom. CW described Cora, Cole, Adams, and Cullum and Paul as part of an anti-government group that had a religious affiliation. Through an OSBI investigation, it was learned that they call their group God's Misfits. Regular meetings are held weekly at 𝗏𝗏's and home of Barrett and Lacey. CW was told on March 29th that Cora and Cole would not be home in the morning when she woke and were going to be on a mission. When CW woke at approximately 1,000 hours, Cora and Cole were not home, but came home around 1,200 hours. CW knew that Cole and Cora took a blue and gray Chevrolet pickup owned by them and a blue flatbed pickup owned by Cole Twombly when they left and returned in the same vehicles. CW was told to clean the interior of the Chevrolet pickup. CW asked Cora what had happened and was told that things did not go as planned, but they would not have to worry about Butler again. CW was told that Cora and Cole blocked the road to stop Butler and Kelley and divert them to where Adams and Cullum and Grice were. CW asked about Kelley and asked why she had to die, and was told by Cora that she wasn't innocent either, and she had supported Butler. CW asked Cora if their bodies were put in a well, and Cora replied something like that. CW also disclosed that other attempts to kill Butler occurred during February 2024 near Hutton, Kansas, I hope I'm saying that right, in which Adams, Cullum, Cole, Cora, and Grice went, but Butler did not leave her residence. This is consistent with the web search discovered on Adams' phone about how to get someone out of their house. According to Cora, the plan was to throw an anvil through Butler's windshield while driving, making it look like an accident because anvils regularly fall off work vehicles. While in Carrick, Texas, interviewing CW and her brother, Cora and Cole arrived and tried to get access to CW and her brother. Cora was verbally aggressive and was very upset with 𝗟𝗏𝗃, and she was not granted access to CW or her brother. Cole exited the vehicle armed with a firearm and a holster on his belt. OSBI investigation showed that Adams searched for firearm shops on her cellular phone. A search for local firearm shops showed Adams buying 5 stun guns at the Big R store in Guymon, Oklahoma. The purchase was made on March 23rd, 2024. Hey, Scott, good to see you. They called them God. Yeah, that was the name of their group, God's Misfits. Moving on. OSBI investigation showed that Adams purchased three prepaid cellular phones from Walmart in Guymon, Oklahoma on February 13, 2024. The phones were identified by phone numbers. Search warrants for information related to the location services and phone usage were completed for each device. It was learned that all 3 phones were at the area where Butler's car was located and the last known location of Butler and Kelley at the time of their disappearance. All 3 phones were powered on and accessed the cellular network for the first time at or near Cullum's residence at different times prior to March 30th, 2024. On March 30th, the phone numbers before Butler and Kelley's disappearance were at Twombly's residence prior to going to or near Cullum's residence. Butler and Kelley's disappearance phone numbers were in the area or near Cullum's residence. After Butler and Kelley's disappearance on March 30th, 2024, it was determined that these phone numbers were at a property owned by Jamie, below a dam in the pasture where fresh dirt work was located by 𝗟𝗏𝗃. Concrete was moved from a location near Beasley's residence, approximately 150 to 200 yards below the dam, where it was discovered that a hole had been dug and filled back in and then covered with hay. The location where Butler and Kelley disappeared from and where Butler's vehicle was located is approximately 8.5 miles away from the location below of the dam on Beasley's property, giving drive time from the location of where Butler's vehicle was located to Beasley's property, well within 34 minutes between the time of Butler and Kelley's phone stopping transmission and prepaid phone numbers arriving at the dam on Beasley's property. All prepaid phones stopped transmitting on the morning of March 30th at locations near Twombly's residence and Beasley's property. Wherefore, affiant prays this court to issue a warrant for the mother-in-law. And then we read through the counts. On the 12th day of April 2024, the above styled and numbered case came on for hearing before me, the undersigned judge of the District Court of Texas County, Oklahoma, upon and above the foregoing affidavit requesting a warrant arrest be issued for the within named defendant that she might be arrested and held to answer for the offenses. Okay, so that was for the mother-in-law, Tifany Michael Adams. That's the arrest warrant. And now we will go to the next one. If it's similar, I'll skip through a lot of it, but we want to see at least what they're being charged with. And here is the one for Tad Cullum, filed April 12th. Also the same charges, unaliving, kidnapping, and conspiracy. Let me know if you guys can see that okay. Let's see. I didn't read this beforehand, I just got them all. On Saturday, this is Tifany's boyfriend. Interviews were conducted. Okay, here we go. On Saturday, March 30th, the Texas County Sheriff's Office requested OSBI with the disappearance of Veronica Butler. We already read through that. Interviews were conducted, and it was discovered Butler was in a custody battle. So they're basically the same. If they're the same, I'm not going to read through them. I feel like we got the gist of what's going on here with them all being arrested. Thank you, Sarah. I just wanted to make sure you guys can see. Let's move on to the first autopsy for Jilian Kelley from the Office of the Medical Chief Examiner. Give me a minute to pull this up. All right, so it gives information. Probable cause of death, multiple sharp force trauma. Assault with a knife. Multiple sharp force trauma with a total of 16 sharp force injuries as follow. This is Jilian Kelley's autopsy report. Cluster of 9 sharp force injuries, 7 stab wounds and 2 incise wounds to the posterior head and posterior neck, with defects to the posterior scalp and neck skin, soft tissues and muscles, tongue base. Stab wound to the right upper lateral cheek with defects to the underlying muscles. Incise wound to the left temple. And then an incise wound to the left jaw. 7 stab wounds. Dang. So he like stabbed her in her face? Wow. Yeah, that's brutal. Sharp force injuries to the left shoulder. Superficial incise wound to the top of the left shoulder with defect to the skin. 2, stab wound to the posterior left shoulder. 1 defensive type incise wound to the left index finger with defects to underlying muscles, tendons, bones, and proximal interphalangeal joint. Defense typed incise wound to the base of the right thumb with defects to underlying muscles, tendons, bone, and metacarpophalangeal joint. Possible stun gun marks to the back of the neck and posterior left shoulder. Early to moderate putrefactive decomposition changes. In my opinion, based on the circumstances surrounding death and the findings at autopsy, Jilian Kelley died as a result of multiple sharp force trauma consisting of 9 stab wounds and 7 incise wounds, to a total of 16 sharp force injuries. 2 of the incise wounds were consistent with Ms. Kelley having attempted to defend herself with the incise wound to her left index finger and right thumb. Although possible stun gun marks were observed on the back of her neck and posterior left shoulder, the decomposed state of her body limited definitive gross and microscopic confirmation. After having been fatally attacked, Jilian Kelley was then deliberately concealed inside a sealed freezer along with the body of Veronica Butler. The freezer was then buried 4.5 to 8 feet below ground and covered with large concrete slab. Underneath the freezer were additional buried clothing, a stun gun, a roll of tape, a knife, and all of which were collected on the scene as evidence by the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. Given the nature of Ms. Kelley's injuries, including a devastating upper cervical spine cord injury, it is my opinion that her death was very rapid and she would have likely not lost her ability to move her body below her head, but also her ability to breathe on her own. It is my opinion, therefore, that she was most likely deceased before she was placed inside the freezer. The manner of death is homicide. Hey, Paul, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Yeah, this is awful. Stuck in a freezer bag. Circumstances of death. According to the investigator and forensic anthropology reports, the decedent Jilian Kelley was a 39-year-old female who had been reported missing along with Veronica Butler since March 30th. Both women were found on April 14th, 2024 within a large sealed freezer, buried 4.5 to 8 feet below ground in an area recently distributed soil consistent with a pit and associated ramp in a rural pasture in Texas County, Oklahoma. The freezer was tilted backward somewhat on its posterior inferior edge and kept sealed with yellow ratchet straps. No longer adherent grate tape was additionally noted near the freezer door handle. A large slab of concrete was lying on top of the interior aspect of the freezer, laying at an angle and partially supported by the ground. Underneath the freezer were found clothing and other evidentiary items, including a stun gun, a roll of tape, a sheath bed knife. The freezer was briefly opened on scene to confirm the presence of the 2 descendants and packaged with proper chain of custody and evidence for transport to the Oklahoma City of the chief medical examiner on 4/15. Fingerprints, skin, gloves, left hand, and blood samples on filter paper are obtained. The body is identified through circumstantial means and visual tattoo photograph comparison by Dr. Cobb. The postmortem examination of Jilian Kelley is performed by Dr. Cobb on 4/15 through 4/18, with autopsy exam itself commencing on 4/17. Assisting in the examination are OCME medical legal investigators Jody Dillon and Ashley Welch, as well as autopsy technician Parks. The body is received inside a sealed freezer, transported inside a covered trailer belonging to the Guymon Fire Department. Upon opening of the trailer, the freezer is noted to be wrapped in a clean red tarp and secured within the trailer by new yellow ratchet straps and lumber. The outer straps and red tarp are removed to reveal the freezer wrapped up for transportation by an inner clean blue tarp secured by 2 additional new yellow ratchet straps and duct tape. 2 OCME toe tags labeled with the case number, along with undistributed OCME orange bag seal, are present on the ratchet strap hooks. After transportation from the trailer into the OCME autopsy lab, the tarps, straps, and duct tape are removed to reveal a partially dented, partially dirt-covered, older model white freezer, secured with a new yellow ratchet strap. 4 well-worn, dirt-covered, partially adherent strips of apparent old gray duct tape are present on the front aspect of the lid where the freezer door is partially detached. Patches and streaks of dry red-brown fluid are noted on the front and the back of the freezer. Upon opening of the freezer lid, the body of Veronica Butler, the female descendant from the related case is noted to be lying on top of this descendant. Miss Butler is removed and her examination is documented separately. Jilian Kelley's body is then observed to be lying on her right posterior lateral side on the bottom of the freezer with her arms tucked in front of her chest, hips flexed forward and knees bent. She is observed to be wearing soiled blue jean denim capris, a soiled blood-stained blue and white plaid long sleeve, unbuttoned flannel shirt with multiple defects, and soiled white sneakers and ankle socks. Of note, both bodies are noted to be in early to moderate stages of putrefactive decomposition. The interior walls and floors of the freezer are noted to be partially covered in copious dirt and hay and mixed with blood and decomposition fluid. A pair of soiled shoes is additionally present on the freezer floor, along with a soiled Apple Watch and 2 soiled gloves. The separate items at the bottom of the freezer are not removed from the freezer and are submitted along with the freezer to the OSBI. After removal of the descendant from the freezer, she is further noted to be clad in soiled blood-stained red t-shirt with multiple defects, a soiled tan bra, and soiled black underwear with soiled panty liner in place. A white earpod case with earpods enclosed is additionally found within the front pocket of the descendant's flannel shirt. Additional personal effects present on her body include a metal earring stud with clear stone within the right earlobe, a metal nose ring, a clear stone, a metal chain, a metal wedding band, and 4 metal rings on the right fourth finger. Blood samples are collected, etc. You guys know what happens at an autopsy. She weighed 173 pounds. The nude body is that of a well-developed female appearing consistent with her age of 39. The body is refrigerated at early to moderate stages of decomposition, diffuse subcutaneous crepitations, partial liquefaction of subcutaneous adipose tissue, and a foul odor. Copious dirt and hay admixed with decomposition fluid covers the majority of the exposed bodily surfaces, including medium-length dark blonde scalp hair, which is largely detached in a few matted lumps. Of note, this dirt and debris is most concentrated over the head and neck and is additionally mixed with blood within this region. No maggot or other insect activity is present. Rigor mortis is passed, while livor mortis is right postlateral and fixed. This is kind of brutal, huh? I know. As I'm reading it, I'm like, I don't know. How's my sound? Is it good? You guys can see and hear okay? Let me know. The intact eyes have intermittent colored irids. No definitive conjunctival pecti are observed. Dirt admixed with decomposition fluid and blood is present with the external nares. The lips are intact. She's female. Epidermal skin. The epidermal layer of the skin on the bilateral hands are nearly completely degloved, along with most of the fingernails. A single tattoo of a butterfly is present on the right medial arm just above her elbow. No conspicuous scars are identified. The body bears, like we said, 16 sharp forearm injuries, 9 stab wounds, 1 posterior neck, 9 stab wounds to the posterior head, 1 posterior neck, 6 right upper cheek, 1 posterior left shoulder, and 5 incised wounds posterior head, posterior neck, and left temple, left lateral jaw, and 1 superior left shoulder, and 2 defensive type incised wounds to the left index finger. That, man, my heart breaks for these women. Wow. I hadn't read these prior to reading them with you guys. So the injuries are assigned numbers in the order they are examined and are not meant to indicate the sequence of injury. The sharp force wounds are classified as a stab wound if they are deeper than they are long on the skin surface. The term angles is used to describe the ends of the sharp force wounds on the surface skin. Skin decomposition changes limit some interpretation of the sharp force injury, angle, and margin classifications. If not specifically provided, the angles and margins are otherwise interdeterminate. Sharp force injuries to the head and neck, 9 of them. There is a cluster of 9 sharp force injuries to the base of the posterior head and posterior neck. Some of these wounds can be separated into definitive tracts with separate injuries. However, given their proximity, a few have overlapping tracts and with shared injuries to the underlying neck soft tissues, muscles, vertebrae, and spinal cord, with fractures and knife markings noted 1 through 5. All 9 wound tracts have a general back to front direction, with some of more complex and subcutaneously connected wounds have multiple combined trajectories and marked definitely delineating the other plane directions. The 9 wounds are characterized as follow. 1 is a horizontal incised wound to the posterior lower head. The direction is back to front and slightly downward. Wound 2, complex gaping and predominantly horizontal stab wound posterior to the lower head. Wound number 3, tangential stab wound to the left upper posterior neck. Wound number 4, tangential stab wound to the left upper posterior neck. Wound 5, stab wound to the left upper posterior neck. Wound 6, complex gaping stab wound to left posterior mid-neck. Wound number 7, horizontal, slightly gaping, diamond-shaped incised wound to right posterior mid-neck. Horizontal, slightly gaping stab wound to posterior lower neck is wound number 8. Wound number 9 is the tangential, slightly gaping stab wound left to posterior lower neck. So she was attacked basically from like her abdomen and up. And this is Jilian Kelley. This is really sad. Given the proximity and complexity of the stab wounds to the lower posterior head and posterior neck, it is difficult to definitively separate which of the cervical spine injuries involving cervical vertebrae 2 through 5 are caused by each stab wound. Additionally, the state of decomposition limits the assessment of the extent of the cervical spine cord injuries. The injuries to the cervical spine and spinal cord are therefore classified as follows. 2nd, cervical vertebrae and spinal cord. 3rd, cervical vertebrae C3, C4 and spinal cord. And then the 5th, separate knife markings on the superior aspect of the C5 spinaeus and lateral aspect of the left superior and articular process. 1 stab wound to the right upper lateral cheeks. Ugh, this is rough. I need to check in with you guys. Are you guys good? I'm like, don't leave. I don't know this case. Do they know who did it? Yes, they were arrested. There's 5 people. Hey, honey, Elder, good to see you. Thanks for being here. We're reviewing the Kansas mom's murder case. I appreciate you for being here. Okay, let's move on. 1 stab wound to the right upper lateral cheek, wound number 14. It's located on the right lateral cheek. Radiating skull fractures to the right lateral orbit, right maxillary sinus, and right maxilla are additionally observed on CT imaging. The extent of brain injury is difficult to estimate given decomposition associated brain liquefaction. However, the liquefied brain is greater red-brown color, indicative of a mix in cranial hemorrhages. The direction of the wound is right to left and very slightly backward. 1 incised wound to the left temple is located, these are basically the wounds we just went through, is located on the left temporal scalp within the hairline. And then a lateral jaw wound is located on the left lateral jaw. That's brutal. Oh my gosh. Sharp force injuries to the left shoulder. 1 superficial incised wound to the top of the left shoulder, wound number 10. Stab wound to the posterior left shoulder, wound number 11. And then sharp force injuries to the bilateral hands. Defensive type incised wound to the left index finger. A defensive type incised wound to the base of the right thumb. Additional findings. There are 2 clustered groups of 3 to 4 circular to ovoid dark brown markings located on the lower posterior neck. The markings are located each from 1.5 to 2 centimeters from each within the cluster group, although there are similar discolored markings associated with decomposition changes located all over body. Those markings appear to be haphazard and irregular rather than pattern. The body is open through customary Y-shaped incision and the sternum is removed. The diaphragm is normally formed and intact. All neck fractures are normally formed and present. Cardiovascular system, I don't feel like we need to go through these things completely. Toxicology. Postmortem specimens are submitted for toxicology for storage. The submitted skin sections reveal dermal and subcutaneous adipose tissue with advanced and autolysis changes, severely limiting microscopic interpretation. There was no toxicology test requested, which makes sense. Okay, so that was Jilian Kelley's autopsy. That's brutal. Evil is just everywhere. Yeah, this was her baby daddy's mom. So her ex-husband or boyfriend's mom who had custody of the children committed this crime with her and her friends and her partner. So I'm going to move on to the next. Let's go through Veronica's autopsy now. It might be similar, so I'll skip through the stuff that is same, but I feel like it'll be a little different. Let me pull it up. I'm sorry. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. All right, here we go. This is Veronica Butler autopsy. Also multiple sharp force trauma. Assault with a knife. So all of this was done with a knife. Ooh, hers seems a little more intense. Hey, Lily, good to see you, friend. Thanks for being here. They called themselves God Misfits. Keep God out of, right, exactly. It's like a cult, in my opinion. Let's go through this. Findings. Multiple sharp force trauma with a total of 30 sharp force injuries. 30. And this is for the mother of the kids. She was 27. 4 incised wounds, including 1 deep to the top and back of the head, 1 deep incised wound to the lower central forehead, 1 superficial incised wound to the right lateral cheek, 1 stab wound to the left posterior upper neck, deep incised wound to the left lateral upper neck, 2 stab wounds to the lower right, anterolateral and lateral neck, sharp force injuries to the torso, 2 stab wounds and 2 incised wounds to the supraclavicle region of the right superior torso, 2 tangible stab wounds to the top of the right shoulder, 1 stab wound to the right upper back, 6 defensive type incisional wounds to the right second to fifth fingers, 1 defensive type incised wound to the left proximal forearm skin, 1 defensive wound to the left wrist, to the left palm, and 2 wounds to the tips of the left, third, and fifth fingers. 1 stab wound to the left anterior thigh, 1 superficial incised wound to the left medial thigh. It sounds like Veronica put up quite a fight, probably because it's her family, right? So she must have really tried to fight them off. 27, very sad, I know. Hey, John, thanks for making it. Good to see you. Happy Saturday. We're reviewing autopsy for the Kansas moms. This one is Veronica Butler. Single blunt force injury to the top of the back of the head. In my opinion, based on the circumstances surrounding death and findings at autopsy, Veronica Butler died as a result of multiple sharp force trauma consisting of 9 stab wounds, 21 incised wounds. 10 of the incised wounds were consistent with Miss Butler having attempted to defend herself, including her having grabbed the knife blade with her right hand, resulting in her fingers being sliced multiple times. She additionally sustained a blunt force laceration to the back of the head. Although possible stun gun marks were observed at the junction of her lower neck with her upper back, the decomposed state of her body limited definitive gross and microscopic confirmation. After being fatally attacked, Veronica Butler was then deliberately concealed inside a sealed freezer along with the body of Jilian Kelley, who we just read her autopsy, buried 4.5 feet to 8 below ground and covered with large concrete slab. Under the freezer were additional buried clothing, stun gun, etc. Given the extent of Miss Butler's injuries, including defects to both of her internal jugular veins, it is my opinion that her death was very quick and likely occurred before she was placed inside the freezer and buried. The opinion is additionally supported by the fact that her body appeared to have remained exactly how it was placed inside the freezer. Hey, Traveling, good to see you. Thanks for making it. I hadn't, these were just released, the autopsy report. So I knew about the case, but I hadn't looked into it like we are now. Circumstances of death. According to the investigator and forensic anthropology reports, the descendant, Veronica, was a 27-year-old female who had been reported missing along with Jilian Kelley on March 30th, 2024. Both women were found on April 14th within a large sealed freezer, buried below ground in an area. Oh, let me switch the page for you guys. Sorry, of recently disturbed soil consistent with pit and associated ramp. This sounds just like what we just read. The freezer was tilted backward. A large slab of heavy concrete was lying on top of the interior aspect of the freezer. The body is received inside a sealed freezer, transported inside a trailer. Upon opening of the trailer, the freezer is noted to be wrapped in clean red tarp. Oh, she had heels on. So 4 well-done covered strips of gray duct tape are present on the front aspect of the lid where the freezer door is sealed. Upon opening the freezer lid, the descendant Veronica Butler is noted to be lying face down with her hips flexed forward at a 90-degree angle, with her knees bent forward and her feet crossed, and her feet and crossed ankles tucked just underneath her buttocks. Her feet are partially clad in black ankle socks that are pulled off both of her heels. Her right arm is wrapped around the top of her head, while her left arm is tucked underneath her torso. She is noted to be wearing soiled blue jeans, denim shorts, and a soiled blood-stained blue-gray t-shirt with multiple defects that is partially pulled up to just underneath her armpits, exposing her torso. A partially soiled, stiff, straw-colored lasso-style rope is loosely wrapped around her waist. So that was different from Jilian. Jilian didn't have that. A partial soiled, stiff, straw-colored lasso-style rope is loosely wrapped around her waist. What does that mean? They dragged her or something? Upon removal of the descendant from the freezer, the body of another female descendant, Jilian Kelley, is observed to be lying on her side on the bottom of the freezer. Both bodies are noted to be in early, moderate stages of putrefactive decomposition. After the removal of the descendant from the freezer, she is further noted to be in clad soiled pink underwear with a soiled pad and soiled black sports bra. A black vape pen and a tube of Blistex bomb are found in the left front pocket of her blue jean shorts, which are additionally noted to be unbuttoned and zipped. Additional personal effects present on her body include a black elastic hairband on her right wrist, an iridescent nose ring, piercings all over her body. We'll move on from that. Blood samples. External examination. The nude body is that of a female. The body is refrigerated in early moderate stages of decomposition, characterized by extensive skin slipping, hair sloughing, bloating, red, brown to green, black skin discoloration, diffuse subcutaneous, and foul odor. Copious dirt and hay admixed with decomposition fluid covers the majority of the exposed bodily surfaces, including long red scalp hair, which is largely detached in one matted clump. Blood is additionally admixed with dirt and debris that covers the neck, head, and torso. I don't know how people do these things. Straight demons, if you ask me. They were in a cult, I believe, in my opinion. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just Melly here reporting on my true crime channel. I really struggle to wrap my head around how evil people can be. It scares the crap out of me. I know. Top Cat says this type of crime needs serious help. I don't know, y'all. That's crazy to suffer in that way. Can you imagine being stabbed 30 times and defending yourself? Ugh. I'm going to skip that part. I'm skipping through their, stuff that we don't need to know, out of respect. The body bears a total of 1 blunt force injury on the crown of the head and 30 sharp force injuries, including 9 stab wounds to the bilateral neck, 3 right torso, 3 right shoulder, 2 left thigh, 3 deep incised wounds to the head, 2 to the neck, 5 incised wounds to the head, 3 to the right superior torso, 6 defensive wounds to the right fingers, 4 defensive incised wounds to the left wrist, 1 to the left hand, 1 left fingers, 2 superficial incised wounds to the right cheek, 1 to the left thigh, and 1 superficial defensive type incised wound to the left forearm. A stab wound to the cheek. The injuries are sign numbers in the order they examine are not meant to indicate the sequence of injury. Skin decomposition changes limit some interpretation of the sharp force injury. If not specifically provided, the angles and margins are otherwise interdeterminate. All wound track directions provided are based on the body being referenced to the standard anatomical position, that is, a body standing upright and facing forward. A single chevron-shaped laceration is located on the top posterior aspect of the head. So she got hit in the head with something. It penetrates through the full thickness of the scalp. I wonder if she got hit with that thing they wanted to throw at her window. I don't get it. I don't get it. A single vertically incised wound to the top of the head is located on the top of the head, is 1 centimeter. Hey, David, good to see you. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Right. Yeah, because Jilian Kelley was just there to be like a court supervised employee, but she was familiar with the family. So yeah, I think this was brutal. Incised wound to the left top of the head, which is wound number 3. Incised wound to the left lateral head, number 4. Deep incised wound to the lower central forehead, number 5. Deep incised wound to the right posterior head. They were like really trying to stab her in her upper body, her neck. This is just brutal. Superficial incised wound to the right lateral cheek. Stab wound to the left posterior upper neck. Deep incised wound to the left upper neck, wound number 9. So I'm like being distracted by all of this. Stab wound to the right lower anterolateral neck, wound number 10. Stab wound to the right lower lateral neck. And then we have sharp force injuries to the torso. Wound number 12, right superior torso. Wound number 13, right superior torso anteromedial. Stab wound to the anterior mid-right superior torso. Incised wound to the right superior torso again. Tangential stab wound to the superior right shoulder. That's wound number 16. Stab wound to the superior right shoulder. Stab wound to the right upper back. Sharp force injuries to the extremities. 6 defensive type incised wounds to the right 2nd to 5th fingers. Superficial defensive incised wound to the left proximal forearm. Defensive type incised wound to the left anterior wrist. Defensive type incised wound to the left palm. 2 defensive type incised wounds to the left and 3rd fingertips. Stab wound to the left anterior thigh. And superficial incised wound to the left medial thigh. Additional findings, there's a cluster of 3 circular dark brown red marks located on the central upper back at the junction of the neck. That is associated, that said, there are similar discolored markings associated with decomposition all over the body. I'm going to skip through like the weight and all of that, organ weight and whatnot. All right, so no toxicology there either. All right, so we finished that one. Veronica Butler, 4/18/2024. And this autopsy was released, I think, like a week or so ago. So it hasn't been very long. This case is extra dark. I agree, 𝐿. I agree. Okay, so we read the mother-in-law's affidavit. We're just going to review the other ones quickly. We're going to read her partner's affidavit now. Let me pull it up. Like I said, I'll skip through a lot of it if it's the same of what we've seen on the previous one. You guys can see it? Just pure rage. I mean, if a custody battle makes you do this, I feel like that's really not the issue. Like, these people were demons and bad people beforehand, right? I mean, the court was already involved. I don't know what makes people do this kind of stuff if it's being resolved. Ted Cullum, which is Tifany Michael Adams' partner. Same, count 1, count 2, unaliving, count 3, count 4, kidnapping and conspiracy. So Veronica Butler, I'm going to skip through what we've already read through on the other one. Let's just get to the affidavit. Saturday, March 30th, Texas County Sheriff's Office requested OSBI investigative services with a suspicious disappearance of Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley. Interviews were conducted to the disappearance, and it was discovered that Butler was in a problematic custody state battle with Tifany Adams for the custody of Butler's 2 children. We already covered that. Butler told, I'm just going to skip through what was the same exact one on the other. We do this on the Diddy documents. They're all copy and paste. ASBI Adams told Friday night that the children stayed over. OSBI interviewed Brune and said she was available to supervise that day, but Adams told her to take a few days off. We did reach that. Through the custody case, recordings were obtained where Rittman discussed death threats by Adams and Adams' boyfriend, Tad Cullum. The custody battle began in February 2019. At times, Adam refused to let Rickman have his children. So this is basically the same as the other one. CW described being part of the anti-government group that had a religious affiliation, God's Misfits. After Butler and Kelley's disappearance on March 30th, it was determined that these phone numbers were at a property owned by James Peasley. We already covered that. All prepaid phones stopped transmitting on the morning of March 30th. Beasley advised that the dirt work was done with a skid steer by Cullum on March 29th and was possibly finished on March 30th. In the morning hours, Beasley knew that Cullum left his skid steer on the property on March 29th, and when he awoke on March 30th, the skid steer was gone. Cullum's rent and pasture property owned by Beasley for cattle grazing and has access to it at any time. On March 28th or 29th, Cullum asked Beasley if he could cut down a tree, remove a stump, bury some concrete, do dirt work where the concrete pad was below the dam. Adams was with Cullum at Beasley's property, and when the conversation was had. In contact with Cullum, your affiant learned from Cullum's that Adams is his significant other. Beasley agreed to allow Cullum to do the work. Cullum brought up the idea of doing the work to Beasley. On Sunday, March 31st, in the morning hours, Cullum was at Beasley's house and told Beasley that people were looking for him for the disappearance of Butler and Kelley. Cullum told Beasley that he did not want the police or people to cause problems for Beasley and said that all skid steer tracks on his property without a skid steer looked bad. Beasley said that if anyone had asked, he would tell him that Cullum had done the tree and dirt work for him. So he's trying to cover it up. But he was not cutting down any tree. They were burying bodies. Oh, John, I appreciate that. Oh, I really do. That means a lot. I'm a true crime junkie. Oh, thanks, Mo. Beautiful Mo. Hi. Thanks for being here. Okay, so now that was Tad Cullum, Tifany Adams' significant other. And now we're going to look through Cole's. I'm sure it's the same, so we'll just hit it real quick to see if anything is different. Oh. 𝐂𝐚𝐬𝒄 Twombly. I don't know if they're just friends or they're related to them. Do you guys know? CW described Cora, Cole, and Adams and Paul Grice, again, being part of the God's Misfit. This is all the same. Yeah, after Butler and Kelley's disappearance on March 30th, determined that the numbers were at a property owned by James Beasley. Veronica's, concrete was moved from the location where Butler and Kelley disappeared and where Butler's vehicle was located approximately 8.5 miles away from the location, below the dam on Beasley's property. So Beasley and his wife, Twombly and his wife participated in this. So they were all in a cult, if you ask me. I think it's a cult. I seriously don't know what to say. Yeah, 5 people. Let me, I know they're on my thumbnail, but let me show you guys a picture. Oh, I wanted to show you guys a picture of the females too. Let me pull it up. That's them. Veronica on the left, Jilian on the right. So Veronica's the one dealing with the custody battle, and Jilian is a court-hired appointment for the custody services. And now I will show you guys the people arrested. And then we'll go through the other ones. There's 5 people arrested for this crime. 5 people. 5 evil people did this together, conspired. Definitely a cult, especially when they name themselves God's Misfits, right? I'm disgusted. That's them right there. Oh, sorry, I just cut you guys off from the picture. That's them right there. So top right is, I don't even know. This is Cora Twombly. This is, what's the guy's name? Oh my gosh. Cora and Cole. And then down here, I believe this is Ted. Why am I trying to guess? It's right here. Ted Burt, Tifany Michael Adams, Cole Twombly. Doesn't say from left to right, but I'm pretty sure this is Ted, and then this is Tifany. This is a mother-in-law right here. This is her who plotted this whole thing, in my opinion, which is why she admitted to it, right? Right here, this lady. She looks cray-cray. Yeah, Top Cat. Custody battles end up with someone being deleted. I mean, there's courtrooms and court processes, right? It'll all get worked out. But we know the system fails some people, but in my opinion, the grandmother should have never had custody. Hey, Dragonfly. Yeah, you get detention for being late. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay. So now that you guys saw those people arrested, let's move on to Cole Twombly's arrest. Let me just look through it really quick, because if it's the same, no, it's not the same. It's a little different. Cole Twombly, arrest warrant. I'm just going to get to the part that's different from I thought I saw something different. Did we read this part? While in Carrot, Texas, interviewing CW and her brother, Cora and Cole arrived to get access to her CW and her brother. Cora was verbally aggressive and upset with your affiant. She was not granted access. Yeah, this is pretty much the same. So they all have the same arrest warrant. Cole Twombly, filed April 12th. I mean, was it worth it? Was it worth it?
And so that, of course, went extremely well, and we are extremely grateful. Another agency that wasn't able to make it, that was a big part of that and helped us tremendously, was the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. So we want to thank them tremendously on that. But I mean, again, there was concern, but we are extremely thankful that no one was hurt, no one was injured during this process.
Did any of the 4 suspects charged in the case tell law enforcement where to find them?
Say that one more time.
Did any of the 4 suspects charged in the case tell law enforcement where to find them?
No, we cannot discuss that at this time.
How early did you guys have suspects?
We can't discuss that at this time.
Are you able to go into further detail how you believe that this was targeted and not a random act?
Based on the evidence and the information that we were able to obtain throughout the entire investigation, what was found inside of the vehicle, witnesses, family, friends of the victims that we were able to talk to throughout this entire process, we were able to gain the information to determine that that these 4 people were responsible for both of these women going missing.
Hey, kiss my axe.
If this was over a custody battle?
We cannot confirm that at this time.
What's the relationship, if any, between the suspects and Veronica?
Again, because it is still an ongoing investigation.
What's up, Jay Wells? Good to see you.
One arrest was in Texas County, the 3 others in Samurai. Can you describe the arrest process? You said there was no resistance, but
that's all we can really say at this time. And we can say that the 4 people that we were looking for were found. arrested and placed into custody within the same day, and there was no resistance.
And obviously you can't talk about the evidence in this case, but is there significant physical evidence in this investigation?
Yes.
Can you elaborate?
No.
Are you able to go into the conditions?
He's on
the
now.
bodies were found?
No.
Is there a reason you guys were so tight-lipped right off the start? You said there wasn't a threat to the public when you guys were investigating, but still not a lot of information was released. Is there a reason for that?
There was not immediate threat to the public. Again, as the sheriff alluded, this was a targeted case. And when you ask about us not releasing a lot of information in that 2-week process, this is the way that our investigators work. This is what you have to do in order to get the job done, everybody involved in order to catch those responsible. And
Okay, so now I'm going to pull up on the 5th person. His arrest warrant is the same thing we've just read. His name is Paul Jeremiah Grice. He was the 5th one to be arrested for the case. And we'll just go over this real quick about him. A 5th misfit is arrested, and here is a picture of him so you guys can see. See that? Demon eyes. Okay, so I wanted to get to the part. On the afternoon of July 6, Paul Grice went to the county clerk's office at Cimarron County in Boise City, Oklahoma. Paid, among other things, he paid to renounce his citizenship. You may have heard of Grice, a member of an anti-government group in Oklahoma Panhandle called God's Misfit, because he was recently the 5th member of the group to be charged with the unaliving of a pair of Kansas women in connection with the custody battle. I'm reading this because I wanted to get a little background on the Misfits. But the custody dispute was only part of the story. It appears the Misfits may have embraced reckless and vengeful violence, and is an extension of their apocalyptic religious beliefs that children are property and that no government or other human institution can interfere in parental authority. Apocalyptic religious beliefs that children are property and that no government or other human institution can interfere in parental authority. Grice had turned 31 days a few days earlier, so maybe he was thinking about his place in the world and perhaps the next. We don't know exactly what was on his mind when he walked into the red brick courthouse at the center of town to deliver his bundle of paperwork. Grice's world was based not on reality, but instead spun from poisonous conspiracy theories, half-baked legal hypotheses, and religious delusion. He lived with his wife and 3 kids. We know Grice sent copies of the renunciation documents to U.S. Secretary. The return receipt is in the filing. Quote unquote, "I am a creation of nature and nature's God," he declared in the courthouse document in the curious spelling and punctuation that has become the legal patois of the sovereign citizen movement. A people's, quote unquote, "a people, a man found alive and living, commonly known by the family, friends, and neighbors as Paul Grice, and so here I will stand." He had dominion over all things, he asserted. His 3 children were his God-given property and subject to none other. He lived not in Oklahoma, but in the Oklahoma Republic in the United States, had been under martial law since Civil War. The 14th Amendment, which most of us understand as granting citizenship to formerly enslaved persons and guaranteeing due right process and equal protection under the law, had actually made slaves of us all. The Federal Reserve was illegitimate. The U.S. had become a corporation that sold its citizens as debt to foreign powers and 1930s Pennsylvania congressman. He mentioned all of this. He also claimed state and federal authorities in cooperation with judges, attorneys that were engaged in child kidnapping and trafficking. So these are like the beliefs and morals of the Misfits, which is this group of 5 people who did this to these women. All of it is nonsense, but it's the kind of nonsense associated with anti-government rhetoric from quote unquote the sovereign citizen movement, topped with anon conspiracy theories. Sovereign citizens believe they are not under the jurisdiction of the federal government and consider themselves exempt from U.S. law. And all that is based on a variety of conspiracy theories and falsehoods they use to justify their beliefs and activities. The sovereign movement had been around for decades and has typically linked to militias. So the FBI classifies this movement as a, I don't think I can say that word on YouTube. What do you guys think? These are the people arrested right here. Again. Yeah, they have, like I said, there's court coming up for them, a hearing on, I wrote it down, December the 17th, and then for Grice is February 18th. He waived his right to a hearing. The granny Tifany totally reminds me of the granny in a TV show on Netflix. She's scary looking. I mean, they're part of this group. They believe this, so I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Yeah, brutal case. So I guess we'll be waiting to hear what happens with these people. And rest in peace to Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley. This is so sad that both of them lost their lives over a custody battle. So unfair. Anyways, we're going to go through those documents here. At least he will not need clippers in prison. I think they go to hellfire. What they did was so horrific with 𝗟𝗏𝗃. Yeah, those faces are scary. I agree. It's like if you're going to commit a crime, that's one thing, but then like the level of brutality of the crime is another thing, right? It's like to stab someone 30 times. I mean, you know, we have to think of those small details and big details when it comes to true crime. Right? That's brutal. Anyways, make sure you guys hit that like button. We will be following this on the next hearing. I wanted to make sure I covered those autopsy results. You guys know I love legal documents here. So I appreciate you guys for being here and watching. I will be back shortly in like about 30 minutes to an hour with another live. And I hope to see you guys there. So make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Make sure you stay following this case. I will be covering it here. Don't know if there's going to be a trial. Don't know if they'll all plead. I don't know what's going to happen with this case, but we'll find out. Like I said, on December the 17th, Twombly's, Cullum, and Adams have a hearing. And then Grice, bond was denied and he waived his right for a hearing. So we won't hear about him until February 18th. So I appreciate you guys all for being here, and I will be live 2 more times today. So I hope I see you on the next one. Bye. Thank you, Augie. Thank you.